My name is Eleanor Hayes, and for the past 5 years, I've been the invisible backbone of my son David's life. At 68 years old, retired from my job as a school librarian in suburban Chicago, I thought my golden years would be filled with quiet joys. Grandkids on the weekends, book club meetings, maybe a trip to the Grand Canyon. Instead, they became a ledger of sacrifices, a tally of checks written in the margins of my social security statements. David, my only child, married Sarah 3 years ago. She's sharp, ambitious, with a smile that could sell ice to Eskimos. But behind that charm was a bottomless well of needs. Student loans she couldn't quite pay off. A starter condo in the city that needed endless upgrades. Date nights at trendy spots I funded without a second thought. I didn't mind at first. That's what mothers do, right? We fill the gaps. It all unraveled on a crisp October afternoon last fall. I was in my kitchen, stirring a pot of beef stew, the kind David used to devour as a boy, when my phone buzzed. It was a Facebook notification, innocent enough. A photo popped up, David and Sarah, beaming in front of a sunset beach in Florida, champagne flutes raised. The caption read, "Our honeymoon bliss. Grateful for the family who made this dream possible. Hashtag newlyweds, hashtag eternal love." My heart swelled. They'd eloped, no big wedding. That was fine. I'd always said intimacy mattered more than pomp. But as I scrolled, the comments poured in. Congrats from the Millers. Love you both. Wish we could have been there. And then a photo album link. I clicked, expecting blurry selfies. What I saw hit me like a freight train. There they were, David's wedding band, glinting under the key's golden light. Sarah in a flowing white gown that screamed designer labels. Surrounding them, her parents toasting with crystal glasses. Her brother arm around David's shoulder. Even her college sorority sisters giggling in matching sashes. 30 people easy. Laughter, cake cutting, a DJ spinning tracks into the night. And me? Nowhere. Not a single photo, not a mention. I scrolled frantically, searching for my name in the tags. Nothing. The stew boiled over, scorching the bottom of the pot, but I barely noticed. My hands trembled as I dialed David. "Hey, Mom," he answered, voice casual, like he was grabbing coffee. "What's up?" "David," I said, my throat tight. "I saw the photos." "The honeymoon, the wedding. When were you going to tell me?" A pause, then Sarah's voice in the background, muffled but urgent. "Oh, Mom, Eleanor," David corrected himself, always so careful with that. "Yeah, about that. We, got married last month. Courthouse thing, super low-key. Wanted to surprise everyone." Surprise? The word tasted like ash. "You invited Sarah's whole family?" "Her friends. 30 people on a beach, and your own mother, the one who's paid your rent for 2 years, bought that condo couch you're sitting on right now, gets a Facebook afterthought." Another pause. I heard Sarah whisper, "Tell her about the budget." David's sigh was audible. "Look, it was intimate, family only, and things got tight with the planning. We didn't want to burden you more." Burden. The word echoed. For 5 years, I'd been their safety net. When David lost his marketing job in 2020, I covered his $1,200 monthly rent on the overpriced Lincoln Park studio. $72,000 total if I did the math. When Sarah decided to pursue her passion for event planning and quit her barista gig, I slipped her $500 here for supplies, $800 there for certifications. Groceries when their fridge echo empty, $300 a month easy. The wedding registry they forgot to tell me about? I ship gifts anyway. A $400 blender, monogram towels. And that gown, Sarah had texted me 6 months ago. "Eleanor, help a girl out. This dress is perfect, but it's $1,200. Just a loan." I'd Venmo'd it without blinking, thinking I'd be beaming in the front row. That night, I sat at my Formica kitchen table, the one I'd refinished myself after Harold died in 15, and pulled out my bank app. No more illusions. I needed numbers, cold and hard. Rent, $1,200 times 24 months equals $28,800. Groceries and emergencies, $300 times 60 months equals $18,000. Gifts, birthdays, anniversaries, just because, $2,500 a year times 5 equals $12,500. Sarah's dress and honeymoon fund, a sneaky GoFundMe I donated, $1,000 to anonymously, $2,200. Car repairs for David's beat-up Honda, $3,000. The couch, TV mount, even their Netflix subscription, when cash flow dried up, $4,000. Total, $68,500 from my widow's pension, Harold's life insurance scraps, and the nest egg we'd scrimped for during his factory shifts. All to keep my son afloat, to make Sarah feel welcome. And for what? Exclusion from the day that should have been ours. Tears came then, hot and furious. Not for the money. I could scrape by on my $1,800 Social Security, for the love I'd poured out, only to be deemed not intimate enough. I remembered David's childhood. Scraped knees bandaged in my lap. Bedtime stories from my dog-eared copies of Where the Wild Things Are. When had he traded that boy for this man who saw me as a debit card? Sarah's influence, maybe. Her Instagram perfect life. Always one post away from influencer dreams. Or had I enabled it, saying yes to every ask until no became impossible? The next morning, resolve hardened like frost on my windshield. I canceled the automatic transfers, $1,200 to David's account, $200 to Sarah's business PayPal. Blocked their numbers for a day just to breathe. By noon, the barrage began. Text from a new number. Mom? What's going on? Rent's due Friday. David's voice note laced with panic. Eleanor, call us. This is a mistake. Sarah's email, all honeyed concern. Hey there, we've been worried. Come over for dinner. We miss you. Miss me? Or my direct deposits? I showed up at their condo unannounced, the one I'd helped furnish with IKEA runs and hand-me-downs from my attic. David opened the door, rumpled in sweatpants, surprise flickering before guilt. Sarah lounged on my couch, laptop open to what looked like Etsy listings, more side hustles I'd funded. Eleanor, come in. We were just talking about you. Sit, I said, voice steady as I hadn't felt in years. They did, exchanging glances like kids caught raiding the cookie jar. I've seen the photos, the wedding, the family toast, and me, an afterthought. David shifted. Mom, it wasn't like that. Budget got away, flights for everyone, the venue. We didn't want to ask for more. Ask, I laughed bitter. You've never asked. You've taken 5 years, David, $68,000. Rent so you could focus on your career. Groceries when Sarah's freelance dried up. That dress you wore, my Venmo. And now, after all that, I'm not family enough for your vows. Sarah's eyes welled, tears on command. I'd seen it before when she'd forgotten to repay a loan. Eleanor, you're like a second mom. We love you. This was just logistics. Logistics, I echoed. Like the $1,200 rent I just canceled, or the $500 you texted for last week, and bridal spa day you called it, post-wedding. David's face hardened. Mom, you can't just pull the plug. We have bills. The landlord's on us already. What about the car payment you co-signed? What about me? I shot back. The widow who eats ramen so you can Uber eat steak? The mother who planned your nursery, your graduation, your future, and gets ghosted on your wedding day. Silence stretched, thick as fog. Then Sarah. We need you, Eleanor. Please, for old time's sake. Old times, when love wasn't transactional. I stood. Those times are over, figure it out, like I did after your father died. Door shut behind me, their protests fading. For the first time in years, my chest felt light. The backlash was swift, a storm I hadn't braced for. By evening, David's voicemails piled up. "Mom, this is crazy. Talk to us." Sarah's Instagram story, a cryptic quote about toxic boundaries over a photo of wilted flowers. Then, the knock at 8 p.m. I peered through the peephole. David, alone, shoulders hunched like the boy who'd lost his first baseball game. He pushed in when I opened the door, eyes red-rimmed. "Mom, Sarah's freaking out. Rent's $1,200 overdue already. We can't make payroll for her assistant." "Payroll?" I crossed my arms. "You mean the gig I funded?" "David, you're 32. Sarah's 29. When do you stand up?" He paced my living room, the one cluttered with photos of us. Him at prom, me beaming. "We thought you'd always be there, like Dad was for you." "Your father worked 2 jobs to provide," I said softly. "He didn't expect handouts at your age." David stopped, deflating. "The wedding. It was Sarah's idea to keep it small. Her parents pushed for the beach. I wanted you there, Mom, swear." "Then why the lie?" "Intimate. Surprise." He had no answer, just a hug that felt like goodbye. "Fix this," he whispered. "Be reasonable." Reasonable. The word that had chained me. I hugged back, then gently pushed away. "Reasonable is me saying no. Good night, son." He left, but the siege continued. Text at dawn. "Eleanor, landlord called. Eviction notice if not paid by Friday." Sarah's mom, whom I'd met once at a forced brunch, phoned. "Eleanor's causing undue stress. David's devastated. Undue stress? On whom?" A weekend they escalated. I was at the grocery store, debating between store-brand beans, my new staple, and splurging on a fresh salmon, when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mrs. Hayes? This is Officer Ramirez from Chicago PD. We have a wellness check request from your family. Can you confirm you're okay?" "Wellness check?" My cart rattled as I gripped the phone. "Officer, I'm fine. Who requested?" "Your son, David Hayes. Said you've been unreachable, acting erratic, cutting off support suddenly, erratic." The salmon went back. "Tell him I'm shopping, and to stop weaponizing the police." I hung up, pulse racing. At home, a letter waited. Certified mail from a law firm, Concerned for capacity of Eleanor Hayes. Inside, a petition for guardianship. They claimed I'd shown cognitive decline, refusing calls, irrational financial changes, paranoia about family. Signed by David and Sarah, with affidavits from Sarah's cousin, a nurse I'd never met, swearing I'd rambled incoherently on a call. Lies, all of it. But the chill, real. Under Illinois elder law, if proven, they could seize my accounts, my home, my life. I didn't cry. I called Harold's old estate lawyer, Margaret Voss, a no-nonsense bulldog in her 70s who'd handled my widow settlement. "Eleanor," she said over coffee the next day, "this is textbook financial elder abuse. They can't prove incapacity without a psych eval, but they're banking on your cooperation to wear you down." Wear me down? I showed her the ledger, $68,500 itemized, screenshots of Venmos, bank statements. Her whistle cut the air. "With this, we countersue for restitution. Harassment, invasion of privacy. But first, protect yourself. Change locks, get cameras, and Eleanor, get a life raft, friends, hobbies. Don't let them isolate you further." That afternoon, I hit Home Depot, first time without a list for their fixes. New deadbolts, $150, ring cameras, $200, app linked to my phone. The cashier, a young mom named Tina, chatted as she rang me up. "Protecting the castle?" I nodded throat tight. "From wolves in sheep's clothing." She slipped me her card. "Local support group for elder abuse survivors. You're not alone." By dusk, locks clicked anew, cameras blinking red sentinels. First test, 9 p.m., app alert, David at the door, Sarah behind. I watched live, him pounding, her scanning windows like a thief. Mom, open up. We need to talk. I didn't. Instead, I texted Margaret. Intrusion logged. Police? Her reply, not yet. Document? Strengthens our case. They lingered 20 minutes, voices rising. Sarah's sobs theatrical, David's pleas edged with anger. This isn't you, Mom. Who's poisoning you against us? Poison? No, clarity. Finally, they left, taillights fading. I poured tea, sat in the dark, and grieved the son I thought I knew. The boy who'd built forts with me, not fortresses against. The next fortnight was a war of attrition. Sarah's apology texts, heart emojis, recipes like old times. David's drive-bys, caught on cam. Slow rolls past my house, noting my car. Then the social worker. A knock at noon, badge gleaming. Mrs. Hayes, Lydia Grant, from Adult Protective Services. Report of self-neglect. Self-neglect? I invited her in. Clean house, stocked fridge, my beans and rice. Over tea, she flipped her notepad. Family concerns, sudden isolation, financial instability, refusal of help. Help, I said, handing her my ledger. Or control. See this? $68,500 to my son over 5 years. Rent, food, whims. Excluded from his wedding. Her family flew in mine. Non-existent. Now they petition for guardianship because I stopped the ATM withdrawals. Lydia's eyes widened, scanning pages. This is substantial. And the wedding, I showed Facebook screenshots, timestamps. She nodded slowly. Ma'am, this meets criteria for potential exploitation. I'll need statements. As she left, promising a report in my favor, I felt a crack in the armor. Validation, sharp as glass. But they doubled down. Margaret filed our counter, demand for $68,500 repayment plus emotional distress damages. Subpoenas flew, bank records, texts. David's response, a cease and desist from their lawyer, a slick loop firm type named Harlan Crow. Cease harassment of my clients, it read. Harassment, my own home. The breaking point came 2 weeks pre-trial. I was at the library, volunteering again, shelving romances for the first time since Harold when my phone buzzed Margaret. Eleanor, they're amending the petition, adding undue influence, claiming your new friends, me included, are scamming you into this countersuit. Friends. Tina from the group had become one, coffee Wednesdays, sharing war stories of greedy kids. My neighbor, Mrs. Patel, waved daily, slipping samosas over the fence. Scamming? I laughed into the phone, hollow. Or saving. Trial day dawned gray, November chill seeping through my wool coat. Cook County Courthouse loomed like a tombstone, metal detectors beeping my resolve. Margaret met me in the hall, briefcase bulging. Burdens on them, Eleanor? No psych of all, weak case, hours, ironclad. Inside, the courtroom smelled of polished wood and stale coffee. David and Sarah sat front row, hair in pearls, mine gifted last Christmas, him avoiding my eyes. Crow, silver-haired and smug, opened. Your Honor, Eleanor Hayes, once a devoted matriarch, now spirals into delusion. Abruptly severing support, $1,200 monthly, installing surveillance like a fortress, refusing family aid. We seek guardianship for her protection. Protection. The word twisted like a knife. Their witnesses, Sarah, tear-streaked, painting me as changed overnight, hostile, unreachable. Cross-exam, Margaret eviscerated. Ms. Hayes, when last did you contact Eleanor San's request for funds? Stammer. We chatted. Date? Silence. David next, suit starch stiff. Mom's always been generous, but now, paranoid. Cutting us off cold. Margaret. Mr. Hayes, $68,500 in 5 years, at 32. Relying on a 68-year-old widow. Rational? He flushed. It was temporary. Then the cousin nurse. Eleanor seemed confused on calls. Margaret produced transcripts. Clear, coherent. Witness coached? The woman crumbled. Our turn. Lydia Grant testified. No neglect. Victim of exploitation. Report file. Tina. Group member, sharp, engaged, not delusional. Mrs. Patel. Caesar daily, vibrant, not isolated. Me last. On the stand, heart thundering, I faced Judge Harlan. No relation to Crow. A stern woman in her 60s with glasses perched like a gavel. Mrs. Hayes, Margaret guided. Tell us why. I breathed deep, voice steady. Your Honor, I raised David alone after his father died young. Worked nights, saved pennies. 5 years ago, he struggled, job loss, marriage. I helped. Rent, $28,800. Food, $18,000. Gifts, $12,500. Total, $68,500 from my fixed income. I thought it built love. Pause, eyes on David, he stared at his shoes. But the wedding? Excluded. Her family, 30 strong. On a beach I indirectly funded. Intimate, they said. Then when I stopped paying, I'm incompetent. They invaded my home, faked wellness checks, petitioned to control my assets. Not protection, predation. Crow Cross. Mrs. Hayes, these friends. They benefit from your suit? No, they listen. Unlike my son, who tallies my checks. Closing, Margaret hammered. No evidence of incapacity, only greed. Denied guardianship, award restitution. Judge Harlan deliberated 90 minutes, eternity in purgatory. David whispered to Sarah. She dabbed eyes, then gavel poised, petition denied. Mrs. Hayes fully competent. Court finds clear financial abuse, orders repayment plan for $68,500 plus $10,000 distress. Restraining order, no contact and counsel, case closed, the room spun, won. Not just money, me. David bolted, Sarah trailing, glares like daggers. Margaret hugged me. You did it, Eleanor. Outside, rain slicked the steps. I called Tina. Dinner? My treat. That night, over pad thai, I toasted. To no more ATMs. 3 months on, the checks trickle, $500 monthly per court. David emails via lawyer. Sorry. No reply needed. I sold a big house, bought a cozy condo downtown, views of the lake, balcony for morning coffee. Joined a writing group. My first story, this one, poured out. Traveled solo to Sedona, read rocks healing old wounds. Donated $5,000 to the Elder Justice Initiative, fighting cases like mine. Some nights I scroll old photos, David's grin, gap-toothed at 6. Wonder if he'll call without strings. Maybe, but I'm done waiting. At 69, I've learned love isn't ledgered, it's chosen freely, and mine. Starts with the woman in the mirror, smiling, unburdened, alive. If this story moved you, consider supporting my work with a small donation. Every bit funds more tales of resilience. What would you do in my shoes? Share in the comments. I'd love your thoughts. Where do you hear this? Drop it below. For more real-life dramas of heartbreak and triumph, subscribe and hit the bell. Your stories inspire mine. With gratitude, until next time, stay fierce, Eleanor.